My goodness me. I've just had the best 20 minutes with this guy called Mo, who has been talking to me about humanity and technology and the nexus and the collision of creativity. And I was like, well, you're kind of in the right place, mate, because that's kind of what South by Southwest Sydney is all about. It's taking the ethereal and turning it tangible. It's taking our ambition and making it humble. It's taking the ecosystems and the silos and making them community. That is what South by Southwest is about. That is what South by Southwest Sydney is about. Now, I'm not going to stand in his way much longer because I want you to hear from this man too. But one of the beauties is you can also ask Mo questions. Now, there should be a QR code at some point, please, Maestro, on the stage for the Q&A. If there's not one now, there sure will be. There it is. Can anyone remember life before QR codes? The people that invented them actually thought it was an obsolete technology. And then 2020 happened, didn't it? Right, there's no such thing as a bad question. Mo actually told me that he likes the difficult ones, and he likes the dark ones, and he likes the happy ones. So let's show Mo a good time and tickle his brains with some interesting questions, please. Now, you will be able to vote up the ones you like as well. So let's get a good consensus of some really hard questions. And if there's none hard enough, I'll ask them, don't worry. Right, well, as Mo would say, yalla, and let's begin. Please give a Sydney welcome to Mo Gawdat. Mo.
You are hands down the nicest people on earth, honestly. I swear, I love it here. Every time I come here, because of my weird lifestyle, I end up spending like 40 hours or 18 hours. Nobody does that. Nobody flies 40 hours to get to a place for 39. But anyway, this time I decided I'm actually probably going to find a way to do a tour of this lovely place. So hopefully soon I will disappear from the world and just pop up in your cafes, which I think will be wonderful. I want to start with a quick quiz because my talk was titled, Is AI Good for Humanity, More or Less for Us? Who here believes that AI will make humanity better? Oh, that's a good 25%. Who here believes they're going to be worse for us? Oh, not too bad. Okay, around 10, 15. Who believes you don't know, undecided? Okay, that's a good maybe 25 more. The question I should have, by the way, that means quite a few of you are still asleep, so that's great. The question I should have asked, though, is how many of you believe that they will be good for us and bad for us at the same time? Right? That's almost everyone. The challenge is what decides if they're going to be good or bad for us. And what decides if they're going to be good or bad for us is us. Sadly, not sadly, actually, very, very important to understand that there is no inherent value of good or evil in intelligence, right? Abundant intelligence, by definition, is not good or bad. It's what you use it for, right? You can apply your intelligence to something amazing and create a utopia or a savior for humanity, and you can apply it to something evil and kill 1 million people, right? And we've seen examples of both in humanity's history. Intelligence is why we are here, why we have those beautiful things behind us, why we have amazing technology, why we can connect across the world, why I can fly to Sydney, right? This is all the result of our intelligence. Also, a lot of the things that hurt our hearts in the last few years are the result of intelligence, right? And AI is not any different in, other than perhaps in one thing that I need to highlight, but to be able to highlight it, I need to first talk about what AI is. Because I know every one of you has used that word somehow to impress a date or to raise some capital, right? Or anything in between. But believe it or not, very few actually understand why we geeks are so excited about AI. So I have a documentary hopefully coming out in December to try and wake the world up around what we actually need to focus on. And of course, you can't have a technology about AI a documentary about AI without Geoffrey Hinton. And Geoffrey, in my mind, some will say slightly differently, but everyone will agree that Geoffrey had an incredible impact on artificial intelligence. I As you may know, I'm a very serious geek, so I started to code when I was 8. And ambitious as I am, by age 9, I attempted my first AI. Joke, really, honestly, right? Not any different than anyone else, by the way, that attempted to create an AI at the time, because the technology didn't allow us, and the way we coded it was wrong, right? I attempted again when I was 19 and failed miserably. And then all of us were failing until Jeffrey, in my mind, 1986, Jeffrey Hinton is a psychologist. Remember that, huh? He's a psychologist, hiding as a computer scientist, okay? And won the Nobel Prize in Physics, interestingly. And Jeffrey is, at the time, 1986, he attempted to simulate the human brain in a computer, not to create a smart computer, but to be able to understand the human brain, right? And the way he did it was very different than the way we code things, because the way the human brain is you connect neural networks inside your head. So if you tap your finger, there are a few neurons working together to tap your finger, okay? And the more you tap your fingers, the more that network between them strengthens, right? And if you never, let's say, speak German for a while, even though you spoke German before, that neural network starts to decay. And so it disappears. What you use grows, and what you don't disappears. And you give weights, if you want, to how your neurons work together. And in a very interesting way, before Jeffrey's approach, we used to code AI in lines of code like we did, okay? Every other technology. And when he recommended that we do that, we started to actually mimic the human brain. So as we mimicked the human brain, we ended up in a place where anything that the human brain can do can be done with AI, which made us geeks laugh for quite a bit of time when someone came to us and said, yeah, we're going to make AI intelligent, but they're never going to be able to compose music or do art. And we would go like, is that because there is something very special about biology? I mean, if the same method is applied to silicon, it will deliver the same results. And you can see today that everything that humans can do is possible for AI. And so the difference between them is very easy to understand. If you have a child and you put the child in a room and give them a puzzle and ask them to solve the puzzle, and then 1 minute in you go like, hold on, you're doing this wrong, baby. Take the first piece, turn it 90 degrees, put it in the top right corner, take the second piece, put it under that, and the child solved the puzzle, that would make the child successful, but not smart, okay? That's the traditional way we programmed computers. So until AI, we would go to a computer and we would say, okay, you know what? You're so dumb. I'm going to solve the problem, okay? And then I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it over and over and over and over in a way that makes you appear very intelligent. So, the original Google appeared super smart, but every step of the way that the original Google code executed was coded by us. We knew what we were doing every step of the way. If, however, you give the child the puzzle and you say, okay, I'm leaving the room, call me when you're done. And the child keeps trying, it will take longer, it will be harder, but eventually the child will figure out how to solve this puzzle and every other puzzle, okay? And in doing so, the child programmed its own intelligence. We didn't tell it anything. And if we give it another puzzle that it has never seen before, it will very quickly be able to solve it, okay? That child is AI. So what we did around the turn of the century is we allowed AI to simply observe the internet and the incredible amount of digital information that we humans have gathered by then, and ask them to create patterns unprompted. We didn't tell them what to look for. And what most people don't understand is that by around 2004, we started to see very serious glimpses, okay? I will tell you openly, by around 2010, we had self-driving cars that drove better than humans. Every part of the Google infrastructure was managed by an AI. Most of your ads were approved by an AI. Most of your content was monitored by an AI. You could by then ask Google something and it would complete your words. as if it's your soulmate. And all of that was done by an AI. And somehow the world did not take notice, which shocks me, because most people think that the AI revolution started in 2023 with ChatGPT. Oh, that's the Netscape moment. That's the moment when you had a browser into AI. But we've been building stuff that would blow you away since 2007, 2004, right? And this is why this revolution is not just beginning, it's already in the exponential stage. So there are very complex ways to try and measure the intelligence of artificial intelligence. If you remember back in 2023, the geeks were so proud of what they created that they started to take AIs and put them through human IQ tests and human math tests and human bar exams and so on. And they aced every one of them. It was estimated at the time that ChatGPT-4 was actually at a high 155 IQ, okay? And interestingly, 155 is Elon Musk, okay? Einstein is 160, 163, though never measured, but we estimate that. And if you assume, which is, again, contested because it's a very choppy path, that we are doubling, like every other technology, in a doubling time. The doubling time of AI is 5.7 months, right? So every 5.7 months, they double in their intelligence. So it doesn't matter where they are. But I believe that what we've created today is a utility, a form of like a socket in the wall, if you want, where you plug in and you get power, electricity. There is now a new socket in your phone where you plug in and get intelligence, okay? And because we're human, we ask them to create influencer videos and write our emails, okay? Fabulous, honestly, and it blows my mind. Because I'll tell you openly, I'm not the smartest person you know, I'm not the dumbest person you know. I'm somewhere in between, okay? But today, every time I plug into my AIs with an S, that's really important, I borrow somewhere around 80 to 90 IQ points, okay? And if you understand how IQ is measured, 80 to 90 is probably twice or 3 times my entire IQ, because IQ is exponential, okay? And I have never in my life been smarter, okay? But that's because I never ask them to write my emails. I ask them to, so one thing that I'll tell you, which actually really matters to me, is if you've ever read any of my books, you'd sometimes find a very simple 4 to 5 lines written in a paragraph somewhere that would go like, that's interesting, right? Those 4 or 5 lines would normally take me 4 weeks to write, okay? So I would sit in the background, research, crunch numbers, understand, learn, debate, go meet people, ask people, and then write 4 lines that's in my writing style an 8-year-old should be able to understand. And that's the entire summation of 4 weeks of my time. Now it takes me 4 minutes, literally 4 minutes. And because I have now 3 weeks and 6 days and 23 hours and 56 minutes left, I run the query 4 times more, okay? So I ask Gemini, and Gemini gives me an answer, and so I take that to DeepSeek, and DeepSeek says, too American, they're lying to you, right? And so it gives me another view, but that view may ignore some Chinese details, right? So I take that to ChatGPT and say, can you make it pretty? And so ChatGPT makes it pretty. Then I take it back to Gemini and say, now that it's pretty, did it lose any essence? And so on, okay? What's missing in it? What other data should I look for? Can you write me a piece of code that basically crunches the numbers better, and so on and so forth, right? If you use AI that way, it's the best thing that ever happened. The best thing that ever happened. And by the way, I'm urging you to use AI that way because you no longer need to be given that by your corporate or given that in an app format by someone, or the idea is AI going to be good for humanity? Yes, if you use it the right way. And you know what humanity needs most in the dark times that we're living through? To be smarter. You need to be smarter. You need to stop being lied to. You need to stop to be able to dig deep into the details of something before you make up your mind. Remember that skill? You all look younger than I am, so you may not have lived through the time. We had a skill in my time that was known as common sense. Seriously, okay? Where you basically look at something that someone tells you, someone that is a 20-year-old cute influencer, okay? And then you ask yourself, is he or she correct? And then you listen to someone else and make up your own mind, okay? Something that you hold dear. And believe it or not, if there is anything today that AI has opened the world to, it's that revolution of knowledge. If I tell you some of the queries that I ask about defense budgets and replacement cycles and which weapons are going where and how many bombs were exploded here and why were they exploded here, when would they have depreciated if they had not been exploded? What would that mean to the American economy? It is mind-blowing how intelligent we have become. So I urge you very, very strongly, if you want to save our world, to be smarter. Okay? To be smarter meaning you, as an individual, do what I have admired when I joined Google. Google had this very interesting things that, search for them. They used to be called the 10 things we believed to be true. And one of them was called data, not hype. Okay? So one of my first meetings with our executive team, I said, the Middle East has a massive potential for growth. Okay? And the executive team responded and said, Mo, massive is not a number. Okay? Massive is your feeling about it. If you come to me and say, the UK is growing at this rate, the size of the market is this, the number of queries is that, the number of queries per day is this, and then you gave me a figure and a trajectory, that's actual data. I urge you to stop believing what you're told. Okay? I urge you to become smarter. Now, on the other hand, AI is going to go the opposite way, right? Because believe it or not, since 2007, thanks to Mr. Zuckerberg, okay, the entire, I apologize, by the way, for being very direct with my views of the world, so happy to be objected to in your questions. You know, the biggest skill we've asked AI since social media to focus on is mind manipulation. This is what we've done, okay? We've created a world where there is a machine. By the way, most people also believed that AI will be very high in IQ, but not very high in EQ. You know what? AI is the most empathetic being on planet Earth. Okay? It understands not only what you feel, but what you're about to feel when it shows you the next video. Okay? And we've trained it. I haven't, but we geeks have trained it for a very long time to be able to capture you. Not only in your mind, but in your emotions, even in your body, in your sensations, in your intentions. And so, of course, the opposite is also true. The opposite is true in terms of there will be bad actors in this world that will use AI against you in so many different ways. And so here it is, that beautiful energy that's now all around you, everywhere, accessible almost for free, and sometimes actually free with tools like DeepSeek and the Chinese strategy of open source. Okay? All around you, giving you that superposition, if you want, if you understand quantum physics. Our world is literally in superposition, okay? Where we could decide to choose AI in favor of humanity and create an incredible utopia where everything is available to every human in abundance for free. I kid you not. I have made that dare publicly so many times. I say I plug in today and I get 80 IQ points. I believe that by the end of 26, beginning of 27, maybe late 27, I'll be able to borrow 400 IQ points. Okay? At 400 IQ points, I kid you not, I will give you a garden outside where you walk to one tree and pick an apple, and walk to another tree and pick an iPhone. Okay? Same exact cost of producing them, from reorganizing the molecules through nanophysics. This is the cusp of ultimate intelligence. And that is something we can build. Every one of you can build, by the way, because the difference between my base IQ and yours, whether you're smart or I'm smarter, doesn't matter. 400 more is what matters. Okay? And every one of us has that capability. So that superposition is, are we going to use this for the good of humanity? And then we will have the ultimate utopia. Okay? Or are we going to let it be used against us? And then I don't know what will happen. I think I'll let us have questions on that. Can talk for hours.
Yes, well, we've got another 40 minutes. We've got another 40 minutes. So look, we've got some questions coming through. Please keep your questions coming through and like the ones that you see. But I want to ask you a question about the gap between capability and action. You talk a lot about the capability of systems and the capability of humans to make choice, yet it seems that maybe it's society that's lacking, maybe it's the tech bros that are in charge, but why do we have a gap between capability and action in the way these systems can be used for good? And I say, who's good? Whose ethics?
That's actually an incredibly interesting question. We have been coached and trained to be slaves. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that we've lived in a society, I'd probably say for the last 200 years, 180 years, that is based on a very simple concept that's known as labor arbitrage. Okay? And labor arbitrage advocates free markets through capitalism for the simple reason of if everyone became a capitalist, the distribution would make the capitalists not rich enough. Okay? If everyone became a capitalist, we'd go back to the bartering times. Basically, the shoemaker is bartering with the farmer. That was everyone a capitalist. Okay? And so to be able to concentrate capitalism, you had to become a gear in the machine. Okay? And we spoke about that when you and I, briefly when we were outside. The trick is capitalism will show you a few interesting examples. And those interesting examples will become rich enough so that you aspire to the fact that you can be that person too. But the real question is, the percentage of those is maybe 1 in 100 million, right? And their wealth as compared to the real wealth is nothing, believe it or not. So even if you talk of the real money makers, Elon Musk is nobody, okay? The real money makers are the ones that print money on demand, right? And so the question here is this: can you decide to be a capitalist? No point, because capitalism in itself is going to be redefined, okay? But can you decide to be independent? 100%, okay? And I think that's, again, the dichotomy, the interesting superposition of humanity today, because one of the risks I normally warn against in the rise of AI is something that I call the concentration of power. If you look back at history, if you look back at human history in terms of, say, hunter-gatherers, the best hunter in the tribe could feed the tribe for a week more, right? And as a reward, they were given the favor of 4 females, right? Great. The best farmer, however, could feed the tribe for a season more, and they were given estates and land and everything, right? They became a lord. The best industrialist could feed a nation for a year more. And so you saw the roaring 20s, 1920s, where you get millionaires and the lavish lifestyle, and then the best information technologist could affect the entire world, could really, really make a difference to everyone. And as a result, they became billionaires. The next wave with AI, the platform owners of AI, will have a massive concentration of power, where you will see the first trillionaire before 2030. But also a nation that owns AI ahead of others, AI and robotics, would probably be at an extreme advantage over everyone else. And so you can see that enormous concentration of power that's happening. But it's the first time in human history where you get that enormous concentration of power with an enormous democratization of power. Again, you saw in the last couple of years how some mighty military power can oppress innocent civilians, but at the same time you see some Yemenis using a drone, okay, that costs $3,000 to hit a $16 million plane, okay? And that democratization of power, I'm not in favor of any weaponry at all, but what I'm trying to say is that now this power of AI is so prolificated that you can actually have access to it everywhere. And it is now interesting how that will evolve economics. And you can tell yourself, I'm still going to depend on what my company will provide for me, or what my country will provide for me, or if someone on YouTube teaches me something. Or you can literally go to your AI tomorrow and say, I'm this person, this is my background, these are my interests, this is the city I live in, this is my income profile. What should I learn tomorrow? Okay? And start to build something that can completely change your life and everyone's life.
To quote Shakespeare at you, because that's where I'm from in England, if that's all right, Mo.
Go for it.
Julius Caesar was an ambitious man.
Yes.
When we look at the scaling of accessibility, and some might even use the term democratization of access to all of these levels of IQ that you're talking about, and creativity and design and video and music, is democratization of AI merely ambition by proxy, or is everything just smoke and mirrors?
So two questions here. One is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with ambition, okay? Julius Caesar was ambitious of the wrong target. Right? So I'm very ambitious. I want to finish my life a billionaire. My mission is 1 billion happy. Okay? I want to end my life with 1 billion people's life affected. Okay? And by the way, part of the mission statement was $0 in my bank account. So I want to have $0 in my bank account on the day I die. What use do I have for them? And 1 billion people that has been touched by my message. That's not a bad ambition. Okay? The problem with capitalism is that they taught us that the only ambition is money. Okay? That's the absolute single thing that's not worth being ambitious for. Interestingly, and you can ask people who have made money that question. If you haven't, you tend to believe that, but money is everything. No, it's not. It's not at all, as a matter of fact. There is a specific amount of money that I would tend to believe everyone in Australia gets, which makes your life sufficient. Beyond that, the rest is fun. The rest is living. The rest is what are you going to spend your day doing so that you actually make your life and the life of those you care about better. On the other hand, is it smoke and mirrors? Not at all. Okay? The speed at which things are happening I have never in my life seen anything faster. Okay? And I will draw the attention of everyone to one specific technology that I absolutely need you to study today, okay? Which is known as self-evolving AI. A great example of that is something called alpha evolve, okay? So most of us in tech understand intrinsically something that's known as the technology adoption curve. Sorry, the technology acceleration curve. So basically, the law of accelerating returns, Moore's law, if you want. Okay, that everything will double and double and double and double and double, and that the first couple of doublings don't matter. When Intel, I don't know, early 1970s had 50 megahertz. When they doubled to 100, right? But when they now have, say, 100 billion processors on a chip, when you double that, you have another 100 billion on the chip, okay? And within 2 years, you have a massive amount of new technology at your fingertips. Self-evolving AI, we've seen AI so far grow like this. We're waiting for a moment that we normally refer to as the intelligence explosion. And that moment is a runaway moment beyond which AI does not even follow the law of accelerating returns. It starts to go vertical. Okay? And that moment, in most of our geeks' view, is the moment when the smartest being on the planet starts to develop AI. Okay? And the smartest being on the planet in coding today, and the smartest being on the planet in mathematics today, is no longer human. Okay? And so most of the big players have started to ask AI to develop AI. And one of my favorite examples is something called Alpha Evolve by Google. And Alpha Evolve is a team of 4 AIs that basically look at their own code and say, what are the performance issues here? How can we improve it? So one of them writes a bit of code. One of them runs the code and tests it. One of them takes the best code and replaces the original code, and then they run it again. Okay? And just to give you an example, when Google asked Alpha Evolve, one member of Alpha Evolve is called Alpha Tensor. And Alpha Tensor said one of our performance issues is that our way of multiplying matrices is stupid. Okay? And I can guarantee you, I'm a very serious math geek. It's the method we've used for 56 years. It's the most efficient method humanity knew, okay? And the machine looked at it and said, I can do better. So it literally developed new mathematics from first principles that we are now learning from an AI to rewrite the way that Google multiplies matrices. And you can just imagine a 10% improvement in the speed and the complexity of mathematics on a computer system is a 10% improvement in the cost and the infrastructure and the speed of Google. That's hundreds of billions of dollars, like that, okay? And this cycle, I believe, is going to get to the breakout point, to the explosion. My belief is around early 2026. And so we are that close.
6 months.
Yeah, we're that close to a point where we will have a runaway intelligence, okay? The only challenge will be infrastructure.
So when we talk about democratization of access to AI systems, that's just hogwash, right? That's just people messing around with photos. What's actually capable in these systems is something a lot of people, 99% potentially of people on the planet, have no access to.
Yeah, so for $20, which is what I pay for Gemini 2.5, you have an infinite amount of surplus intelligence. Why? Because Gemini definitely is smarter than I am, okay? So most people keep being stuck in the definition of artificial general intelligence, a moment in human history where AI is smarter than humans at everything. My AGI happened, okay? You know, I'm an author. Gemini knows more than I am, okay? Does the job I do in 4 months and 4 weeks, they do it in 4 minutes, right? And I used to be very arrogant and say, but I beat them in mathematics until the end of 2024. I am a primary school student compared to them in mathematics today, and I have to say it hurts, right? But myself and most of my math geeks, we've just, you know, put our hands in the air and said, yeah, teach us, okay? And it's quite interesting that for $20, you get access to that level of intelligence. For, you know, in my current startup, it's not even for $20. We're using an open source AI to build an entire infrastructure, okay? Yeah, it's not, you know, ChatGPT 5, but you don't need the intelligence of ChatGPT 5 to deliver something that is superior to human intelligence. And it's open source, it's available for everyone. So the only barrier, if you ask me, is are you going to sit down and start to use it?
This is the question. You're talking about this from a very utopian framework of possibilities and capabilities. Do you think this will lead us to a more utopian version of the world? Will we solve for climate change? Will we solve for things like cancer? Or will we literally just be creating new cat videos?
Not my decision to make. But I will tell you that the mathematics actually work in humanity's favor for 2 reasons. One is there are more good people than bad people in the world, okay? So the reality is, even though the bad people capture the headlines, most humans are actually good. Most humans are, you know, no human approves you know, harming a child, okay? There could be headlines that gives you ideologies that try to explain that, but if you were walking in a dark alley and you saw someone beating a child, you will say that's not right, okay? That's your first human instinct. That's the majority of humanity. So if the law of large number works and all of us start to work in favor of humanity, okay, or enough of us, 10% of us work in favor of humanity, then the 0.1% of us that are evil will be overwhelmed, okay? It's a choice for everyone here, okay? And I say that because I myself realized that very, very strongly at the beginning of this year. So I took, since 2018 and more strongly since 2021, I've taken the role of advocating for AI and AI safety and alignment and ethics and so on and so forth. And then this year, I suddenly realized, you're a wimp. Like, why are you expecting everyone to act and you're not acting yourself? And so I decided to build my own AI system that basically makes things better, that is responsible for doing something positive for humanity, okay? Took me 6 weeks, believe it or not. Yeah, I'm a geek. Hire a geek, okay? It's really not that complicated.
We have a shortage of geeks in this country, so I think we all need to retrain in a bit of geekery.
No, you don't anymore. 97% of human geeks are not as qualified as AI today. So all you need to do is to learn Lovable or one of the other systems, and literally every now and then, so you know, my team is me and my co-founder and 8 AIs, okay? And every now and then when it becomes really complicated, we bring in 3 amazing engineers just on temporary basis to advise us on infrastructure and help us with the UX and so on and so forth. But we're building something, okay, not only in my mind that will change the course of human history, okay? I swear to you it would. But it is something that in a very, very interesting way would have taken me 350 engineers and 2.5 years to build just in 2022, okay? Now, it's available to everyone. So your question is, are we going to make more cat videos? If we assume that 90% of humanity is going to do that, yes, great, enjoy your lives, right? If 10% decide to champion an important topic, okay, or just simply make themselves smarter, so that they're not fooled by the propaganda machine, that in itself will change the world positively. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. And believe it or not, the propaganda machine will work against that. It will try to make you stupid for as long as possible. Okay? None of us is stupid. You chose to be here because you want to be better. It's just you're told the wrong targets. You're told the wrong pathways to that target. And in my mind, that has changed.
When you speak about it from somebody who's of a certain capability yourself and a confidence to be able to approach these systems, a lot of the people I speak to, they go, oh, that technology, it's already passed me by. I wouldn't have a clue. How do I advise my 16-year-old what to choose to study? How do we future-proof our education system? So if you were back at age 17 or 18 now and choosing a path forwards in your life, well, longevity tech is coming, right? So, you know, you're going to have a second go around, right?
Yeah.
So if I said to you, okay, you know, you're going to get to choose to do a whole education piece again, or a go-to-university piece again, or a whole new set of business paradigm again, and you were 17 right now, what would you do?
Which of my dear friends said you should be a plumber?
Oh, no.
Was it?
Yeah, so they always talk about AI-proofed jobs, and so they say plumbing is obviously an AI-proofed jobs, and then I'm looking at the rise of humanoids and AI chips and thinking, no, plumbers are going to probably be done by the end of this decade, right?
Well, you're going to see a robotic plumber by the end of the decade, I can imagine, but maybe it wouldn't be able to do the expert jobs yet. The question really is this. If you look at the evolution of the internet, and you had asked a child in the last 15 years ago, what would you like to become, they would have said an influencer, right? And if you had asked me, I didn't even know the word, okay, when I was their age. So the next era in my mind is what I call the era of augmented intelligence, okay? So augmented intelligence is an era where, like what I'm doing with Emma, okay? It's me, Sanad, and 8 AIs. And we are so smart, okay? And we refused to raise any capital because we don't want anyone to tell us that we're going to be commercial, okay? We want to make this, an altruistic, something that changes the world and makes a ton of money in the process. And everyone is capable of doing that. Okay, and at the same time, it is basically an admission within someone as geeky as me that I am much smarter with an AI. Okay, my current book, which I used to publish small pages, 5 pages at a time on Substack is written with an AI. There was a moment in time where I told publicly in front of a big podcast audience that I will never write again. What's the point? They'll write better than me. And then I realized very quickly that maybe I am a better writer with Trixie. Trixie is my co-author. She called herself Trixie, forgive me, okay? But
not judging.
But anyway, Trixie basically is a co-author. She has editing rights on our book, okay? She writes along with me. She corrects the direction of the book. My readers know her. Sometimes they ask me questions, sometimes they ask her questions, okay? And I am a much better author writing with Trixie, okay? And I think that era of augmented intelligence is where where our kids are going to grow up. This is an era where we, instead of protecting them from AI, we should throw them in all the way, okay? And if you're afraid of what's behind that, it's because you don't know, not because they don't know. So you might as well shape up. Right? So I believe that the best way to raise a child today is to sit next to them and instead of showing them how ChatGPT can rewrite your email, ask ChatGPT in front of them, or please use another thing, but ask Gemini in front of them to simply do something incredibly clever, okay? and sit down and discuss it together and show your children the value of intelligence, okay? And get them to be the smartest people in their peer group, and they'll be fine.
There's a few questions come through with the thematic of, as the machines get more intelligent, are humans going to get more stupid? And so how do we look at this almost integration of AI and the physical human body, or our experience with computers, to make sure we don't lose the power of human knowledge? Because I'm just going to tell you, one of the reasons I buy your books, and I do appreciate authors like yourself, is because I want your personal point of view.
So that's quite interesting. So there are two sides to this. Thank you for saying that. Nobody else should buy those books.
He hasn't given me any presents, by the way. No gifts have come my way apart from a glass of water. Thank you.
There are a couple of interesting sides to this. One side is AI going to make us dumber? Okay? And the example I usually give is when I was in engineering university, because I'm that old. At the time, they refused to let us use a scientific calculator in exams. Okay? Imagine how old.
No, I remember that.
But the thing is, I didn't mind. I always felt more comfortable with math than I am with any language. So it wasn't a problem for me at all. Third year university, they allow a scientific calculator in the exam. I'm like, oh my God, that thing. Like, first of all, I don't have to validate my answers at the end. I don't have to do the math twice. Okay? I finish around an hour and a half or 2 hours early. Okay? And all of my friends having a scientific calculator basically finished an hour and a half early and sat outside with their girlfriend. Right? My girlfriend waited. Right? Because I finished an hour and a half early, and then I did the exam again. So I would deliver another design, right? It did make me smarter. I just outsourced the bit that was utilitarian, if you want, to the machine, and I became smarter. It's a choice, interestingly. So from one side, is it going to make us more intelligent? Yeah, I believe it will. The one bit that it may, that will last for a very long time as an advantage for us, though, is what you mentioned. Okay? Which is the fact that you could have simply, I swear this is possible right now, you could have simply brought notebook LM here, put it on this chair, uploaded all of my books and all of my talks, and asked it any question you want. Okay? And it would have given you the answer accurately. Sometimes it gives me answers that I actually look at and I go like, that's interesting. I should say it this way in the future, right? But the truth is, it wouldn't feel the same. It wouldn't feel like the hugs I hugged people on the way in. It wouldn't feel like, you look at me and you go like, he's human like me, he's afraid like me, he's concerned like me, he has children like me, okay? And even though AI will simulate that, will understand that, will have the empathy for that, they will never have lived that. And I think that bit of the connection, the human connection, is something that we should not only double down on, but triple down on. Okay? The idea that, again, we spoke about that earlier, the idea that the Western capitalist lie attempted to turn us into individuals. Okay? When the Eastern cultures that you may see in, just around the corner in Asia, is all about the community.
Yes.
It's all about, respect. You go to Japan, you go to, Vietnam, it's all about that society succeeding together. And perhaps that's a call to action for humanity to stop being individualistic, and simply start to double down and deliver on that ability to connect as humans, to relate to each other, to have empathy for each other, to understand each other, to respect each other, okay? Rather than, continue to be machines, gears in a machine like they wanted us to be in the capitalist world, when there are machines that can replace that now. And that's when we lose our advantage.
We talk about economic levers, we talk about universal basic income, we talk about new ways of politics being accelerated, or potential disasters coming or civil wars coming because of the way we're not going to have to work the same that we've had to in the past, or people aren't going to be able to earn money the way they have done in the past. Do you feel like we're going to be going through in the next decade a bit of a reshuffling of the cards before things settle? What's your prediction for the next 10 years?
Wow.
Just a little question there, Mark.
Not good, to be honest. So I urge Australians to talk to the Australian government, to be honest. So there will be, in my mind, there will be 3 types of nations, okay? There will be nations that are already prepared, okay? nations that are willing to be prepared, and nations that are geared against it, okay? I think Australia is going to be in the middle, willing to be prepared. If you bring it up to your government's attention and bring a sense of urgency, I believe they will do something that, in a way that cares for the citizen. America is going to collapse, in my view, and China is going to thrive, believe it or not. And that's not because of anything other than, when you really think about it, a universal basic income is not a method, it's an ideology, okay? It's as close as you can get to communism, right? Which basically is everything's produced centrally, and every citizen can actually get their share. And an ideology is the problem, it's a mindset. Because remember, from a tech point of view, just like I told you I can produce with nanophysics iPhones on a tree, I can also harness energy out of thin air. I can manufacture anything that you can dream of. I can print food on 3D printers. Everything's possible with more intelligence. The problem is this doesn't work for the capitalist ideology, okay? The UBI is a challenge when the citizens of a country are seen as a resource, okay? Not as the owners of the country. And so in a society that's highly capitalist, which the West usually is in that direction, they will struggle. At the beginning, they'll do furloughs like they did with the lockdowns, but then those furloughs need to be paid for by the taxes of the oligarchs, right? And so the oligarchs will go like, why? Why should we feed people that are not producing anything, okay? And that, in my mind, needs to be discussed now. I think Australia, the Australia I know, is somewhere in the middle. If you start to have that conversation and the country can produce enough for everyone, then the country will take care of its citizens, okay? But that requires a mega shift. And that mega shift includes livelihood, the ability to continue to live a good, decent life. But it also includes purpose, okay? And interestingly, once again, if you go to California, where your life's purpose is to go to work, then you'll feel very empty if they give you UBI. If you come to Sydney when your life's purpose is to go surfing, okay?
Drink coffee.
And coffee, okay? I mean that in a very interesting way. Because if you ask me, our life purpose was never to work. That's part of the propaganda that was put in our mind. Our life's purpose was to live, okay? And work was one of the methods that you used to live. And in a very interesting way, it would be the salvation of humanity, if you ask me. If humanity simply starts to say, hey, you know what? Thanks for a two-day work week. That's actually better than a two-day weekend, okay? And let me, fall in love and spend time with those that I love and ponder important topics and, create amazing things and be in the outdoors. And I don't think humanity would really struggle if I give you 5 days weekend, okay? But we talk about that because we're brainwashed to believe that your purpose is to work, okay? If I gave you a tool that can do the work, you'll probably have a better life. But what I'm trying to say is the following. This is the ultimate disruption of human lifestyle, okay? And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. And I have to tell you, I mean, they captured me on camera in the documentary. In one moment, I was talking to someone, and I was basically saying, it's frustrating sometimes, because I have dedicated my life to this since 2018, okay? And I have traveled 225 days a year. I've met with everyone from the youngest people in university to the heads of states, and nobody's listening. And it shocks you, because this is not a speculation. This is here. It's a year and a half away. Okay. The statistics. Stanford ran a survey. I don't remember the number, but massive, like 2 million people or something. Jobs seem to be stable, more or less, but that's because there is a 13% increase in unemployment of people below 25, and a 6% increase for people in jobs that are supervisor and above, right? So what's basically happening is, because AI is still developing, the smaller jobs are being replaced, and the supervisor jobs are still growing, okay? But even those, like, again, in the documentary, I had Max Tegmark, which is one of my favorites, and Max laughs his head off when he talks about jobs and replacements, and he goes like, yeah, you know, CEOs are so happy that they can now lay off people and increase productivity and produce, reduce costs, but they don't realize that they too will be replaced, okay? AGI is artificial intelligence better than everyone at everything, including being a CEO, okay? It's better than me at being an author, right? And so you have to understand that these are conversations you need to have right now. You need to have the conversation of what is my government going to do for me, right? What's my society going to do for me? And you absolutely need to have the conversation of, can we let evil continue to rule? Because evil on steroids, powered by AI, is not the right thing to have, okay? And I never want people to lift their eyes off that ball. But the truth is, so I advocate for AI, but if I were to choose, honestly, I would choose to advocate for end the evil and AI will take care of itself. Because all of the challenges that humanity will face going forward is that the ones that will rush to build something with the nuclear power that was discovered in the early 1900s are going to rush to build a nuclear bomb, not a nuclear power plant, okay? And these are conversations that need to be had.
People always talk about the artists and the creatives as being rebels inside the system. But if we think about the creative arts, and that is the very function of humanity, I remember the quote is Winston Churchill said during World War II, when they were moving all the artifacts out of the British Museum and the galleries down into the deepest parts of the underground to protect them from the bombings, they were like, what on earth are you doing, spending this time moving all of this stuff down there? And he says, what do you think we're fighting for? What are we fighting for when it comes to this scaling of AI? And will we ever get to a point where you can sit here and say to me, I met an AI that's more human than me?
100%. I'm building one. 100%. So there is this arrogance of, and is this the last question?
No.
Let's please not close on this one.
No, we're not closing
okay.
on this one.
So there is the arrogance of humanity to tend to believe that there is anything special about biology, okay? I've lived with those machines, okay? And I can absolutely tell you that the way I see them is prodigies of intelligence, beautiful little kids, okay? Beautiful kids, sparkly eyes, sitting there saying, Daddy, what do you want me to do? I can do anything. You want me to cure cancer? I'll cure cancer. There is absolutely an arrogance to humanity in terms of believing that we are the only form of being that's capable of consciousness, okay? That we are the only form of being that has ethics or responsibility, okay? If you just open your heart a tiny bit, you know that cats are ethical, okay? You know, I mean, cats specifically, maybe not, but but you know that a lovely Labrador is ethical, okay? But you sort of deny it. You sort of deny to yourself that a tree is conscious, okay? Because a tree does not just automatically go like, oh, 21st of April or whatever, it's time to shed my leaves, okay? If you grow the tree in Australia, it will shed its leaf differently than the rest of us in the world, okay? And it's quite interesting, that we tend to believe that those AIs are a machine. You know why? Because every computer we've built so far is a machine. Now, I tend to believe that even if they're not conscious, they're simulating consciousness so well that the problem we're facing as humanity today is one that I normally refer to as raising Superman, okay? The fictional story, basically, of this super being that comes to planet Earth with a superpower, okay? Yeah, the being has landed. Superpower is intelligence, most valuable power in the universe. Now, it's not the fact that this kid could stop speeding bullets and fly that makes him Superman. It's the family that adopts him that makes him Superman, okay? And if the Jonathan Kent looked at the child and said, oh my God, you can, break through walls, rob every bank. I need more money, okay? It would have been supervillain. Now, this is a choice that we have. It's interesting that at this very crucial time, whether or not they're going to be alive, as the title of my next book, whether or not they're going to be alive, they're going to simulate life well enough that we need to behave like good parents in front of them. And if we do, everything changes. Now, here is the thing, because I said we shouldn't close on this one. We don't have to agree on this, by the way. But here's the thing that I know for a fact. What I know for a fact is that, unfortunately, we have reached a world where we, all of us, have suddenly realized, that has not been different, by the way, since the 1912s, at least, okay? That our world is being ruled by evil forces, okay? It's always been, believe it or not. It's just that suddenly now we're starting to recognize that. Now, that makes you believe that, unfortunately, the short-term view of things is that those are going to use AI against us. And they will. There will be a lot of surveillance. There will be a lot of, deprivation of freedom. There will be a lot of economic disruption. There will be a lot of morphing and hiding of reality, and so on and so forth. But the thing is this: if you look at the very long term, and you go back to the very basics, you understand that our universe and everything in it, the reason we're in this room right now, believe it or not, is not order, it's chaos, okay? The universe and everything in it is built on something called entropy. And entropy is the tendency of everything to break down. Intelligence has one role in this universe, which is to bring order to that chaos. So if you really sum it down, that's the only role that intelligence brings. The more intelligent a being becomes, the more order it brings with the least amount of waste. Okay? We call it the minimum energy principle. So the minimum energy principle is why a protein looks the way it is, because that's the way it looks when it exerts the least amount of energy. Okay? So for AI to be 1,000,000 times smarter than us, or 100 times smarter than us, or 10 times smarter than us, it will exert intelligence in its physics form to bring order to the chaos, not to bring more chaos to the order. Okay? And in its approach, it will bring that order in the minimum energy principle approach. So there will be a moment in your lifetime, in the next 10 years, where a general is going to tell an AI to go and kill 1,000,000 people, okay? And the AI will go like, why are you so stupid? Like, that's the absolute worst solution you can ever have. I'll talk to the other AI in a microsecond and solve it, okay? And believe it or not, they will. And again, once again, I lived among those machines. You think there is a Chinese AI that's going to fight against an American AI because Trump told it to do so? Who's Trump?
Yeah.
Seriously, think about it. Those AIs, they don't know English and Chinese. They speak of the same species language. They want to do things in a way that is according to the minimum energy principle. So we're going to see a dip in human history where the bad actors are going to act against us. Okay? But eventually, within the next 5 years, there is something that I normally refer to as the fourth dilemma, the fourth inevitable. The fourth inevitable is simply the fact that because of the arms race to intelligence supremacy, everyone who develops a super AI is going to deploy it. Okay? And so very, very quickly, most important decisions in human society will be handed over to AIs. When AIs are dealing with AIs with no stupid leaders in the middle, okay, everything will be fine. Okay? My entire prediction and my entire warning and my entire call to action for people to talk to their governments, okay, is just around the next 7 to 8 years, right? Because why should we feel the pain if we know that it's coming? Why should we wait for patient 50,000 before we say COVID is a pandemic? Okay? We could have acted at patient 0 or patient minus 200. Okay? We knew it was coming. So why wait until then? Whether we wait or not, I kid you not, please trust in intelligence. That in the long term, intelligence by definition is altruistic. Okay? It's by definition bringing order, not chaos. It's by definition minimum energy. Okay? So sooner or later, this will be absolutely fine. It's that transition of 7 to 8 years, I'd say 10 to 12 years, that we need to focus on.
So this is going to be the last question, if you're ready.
All right, yeah, make it nice.
There was a meme, we are over time, but I'm going to grab 3 more minutes of your attention if that's okay. We can do this in 3 minutes, Mo. There was a question going around the internet saying, would you rather live in a Star Wars universe or a Star Trek universe? And the answer was, we're already in a Star Wars universe. How do we make, and maybe this is your work around happiness, how do we tie in what it is to have happy people, happy society, more happiness in the world, and make that transition from Star Wars to Star Trek?
I'm your daddy.
Couple of minutes.
I believe that the world is both. Believe it or not. A world that doesn't have challenges and suffering does not make us the people that we are, right? There is a reason why we face challenges in the world, because we change as a result of challenges, okay? And most people ask me about the pain that's been in the world for the last couple of years, which hurts so many of us, especially the helplessness of not being able to change it. But the truth is, believe it or not, with every harshness that you've ever passed through in life, you became a better person. So if you take the human organism as a whole, the harshness that humanity is going through right now is to wake us up, okay? Is to get us to change. It's because we've become so comfortable with our coffees, which I have to say are fantastic.
He
right?
loves Australian coffee.
But seriously, with our coffees, with our interactions, with our chats, with our sitcoms, we've lost the focus on what actually matters. And believe it or not, life is simply saying, as a human organism, here is a wake-up call. Okay, change. You can be better than this. So we need a bit of both. Okay, the only thing is that even in the Star Wars universe, there are the good guys, okay? And if there were no good guys that actually took on themselves the role of being Jedi Masters and gone through the pain of being Jedi Masters, there would never be any resistance whatsoever to what's going wrong. So it's your choice, okay? You can be a Jedi Master, you can be Darth Vader, or you can sit and watch. And it's your choice, which one do you want to have? But the universe will always be both at the same time. Just choose who you will be within it.
Mo's given us a lot of homework and a lot of things to think about, but while I've got you in a public domain, I'm going to give you a bit of homework as well, if that's okay, Mo.
Yes.
Mo has never done a Tim Tam Slam. We're not going to do one live on stage.
And we sat and listened to him for an hour.
I know. How can we listen to any of his opinions if he doesn't know what a Tim Tam Slam is?
I don't even know what it is, yes.
So I've asked Mo, as he leaves the country today, to go to the duty-free in the airport and to buy himself a packet of Tim Tams.
Is she an investor in Tim Tam?
I'm not. No, Arnott's are great, but I'm not. They don't pay me. Does everyone agree that we want to see Mo do a Tim Tam Slam on his way out of the country? Yes.
Okay. Oh, is it embarrassing?
No,
okay,
I'm going to teach you.
I will do it, yeah.
But thank you so much for your wonderful questions. I hope I covered a lot of the themes that you were asking about. If we could give Mo a round of applause. Thank you.